Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Oy, that's not what you want to see. Nope. 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 Oh no. There we go. Take this off as well, and this. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all needed. Ah, crap baskets. Okay. Don't even know how long we're gonna be here today. I'm actually tired, and I got work tomorrow. So we're gonna do what we can. Honestly, I think there's not much to really say about the game. So I can kind of just, I don't know, speak my piece. And then probably call it a night. Like, let's be honest, we don't need to be here speaking for long, because this wasn't actually one of those type of games. But hey, we will speak here. We got 5 games left in the season. Wow. Season going by fast. We got 5 games left. It's kind of crazy to think about. We got 5 games left, huh? Wow. 5 games left, and then all hell breaks loose because if this team can't go on a run, everybody's going to have something to say. And if they can't go on a run, it's going to be chaotic. No matter how things go, once January hits, things are going to get hectic. Anyway, that is a conversation for another time. Probably, what, a month and a half from now, when we got to face the music. Alright. Oh, yeah, I'm so tired. Okay. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your day. Hopefully you guys had a good Tuesday. Ravens played last night on Monday Night Football. Took on the LA Chargers in what was a marquee matchup. Obviously, it was the Harbaugh Bowl. The older brother John taking on the younger brother Jim in LA. Lamar Jackson versus Justin Herbert. We knew what this was going to be. The Chargers were 7-3. The Ravens were 7-4. Chargers were looking to get closer, or at least as close as they possibly can, to try to challenge the Chiefs for the AFC West. Meanwhile, Baltimore, after suffering a painful loss to the Steelers, they were looking to bounce back and try to close the gap between them and Pittsburgh. So both teams needed a win, especially because the wild card race is still hot in pursuit, and a loss could put you in a different position for the most part. So, yeah, Monday Night Football, Ravens, Chargers, we knew what type of game it was going to be. It was expected to be a physical game. We actually expected to see a lot more of the run game from both teams, but things kind of turned out the way it did. So let's kind of just give a brief recap here about what happened in the game. So, to just give a quick recap here. Baltimore won the toss. They kicked the ball off first. So they gave it to the Chargers. And let me tell you, man, Baltimore did not start off on the right foot. The Ravens essentially went out there and played the exact same game they played on Monday Night Football against the Bucs. I mean, it was verbatim the same nonsense. Opening drive here for the Chargers with little to no resistance. They go 70 yards down the field and score a touchdown with Justin Herbert running into the end zone to give them an early 7-0 lead. Baltimore gets the football back and are moving the ball, but what ends up happening is their drive gets completely killed because some call, I don't even know what it was, some leg sweep call, whatever, some crazy call was put on Patrick Ricard, he got penalized for some leg sweep or something like that, which was a 15-yard penalty because they counted as a personal foul, and that ultimately killed the drive. So opening drive, you didn't get to do much after the penalty. You pretty much were forced to punt, and you gave it back to the Chargers. Chargers after that really didn't do much of anything, if we're going to be very honest. After the touchdown, they don't do much with the next drive. Kind of got to punt it back. Baltimore still trying to get in the rhythm. They've been starting off games slowly. It hasn't been great. They end up having to punt the football back. It's still a 7-0 game. This time around, the Chargers do get the ball. They start moving the ball down the field. They get into field goal range. Cannot convert. Defense makes a stop. They kick a field goal. It's 10-0. And the Ravens proceed to do exactly what they did against the Bucs. They go down the field, down 10-0, score a touchdown, a much-needed touchdown. They get down there. Initially, Derrick Henry ran into the end zone, but a holding call was called on the offense, so that pretty much took away that touchdown for Derrick Henry. And Lamar Jackson ended up being the one to take it in himself, so he scores the touchdown. Ravens make it a 10-7 game. It's pretty much somewhat of a back-and-forth affair for the rest of the first half. Not much really happening in this situation because the Chargers, they try to do something with the football at that point. They end up having to punt the football. They get stopped. They try to move the ball. They get stopped. The Chargers really started to struggle past that opening drive touchdown. So now you get a situation here with the Ravens just before halftime. They get the football back, and all of a sudden you get a 4th-and-1 situation at your own 16-yard line. I believe it was the 15 or the 16. Either way, it's a 4th-and-1 situation deep inside your own territory. The Ravens lined up on 4th down as if they were going to run a play, but then the 2-minute warning was called. Many of us thought they were just going to try to see if they can catch the defense off sides, but nobody jumped. So coming out of the 2-minute warning, I fully expected the Ravens to just punt the football, and unfortunately, we would have to rely on our defense to hopefully make a stop and maybe get enough time to be able to get the ball back to the offense and see if they can get something going before halftime. That was what many of us expected the Ravens were going to do. Instead, John decided to take a risk. John came in with the aggressive mindset and said, we're going to be aggressive today and we're going to go for it on 4th and short. And it all starts with us doing it here inside our own 20. At the time, I did not agree with the call. As I sit here today, I still didn't agree with the call. That's just me personally. I don't think you take a risk and go for it on 4th down inside your own territory, because if you don't get it, now you're basically giving up free points to the Chargers unless their kicker misses or they turn the ball over. So I just didn't like the decision. I did not like the decision at all. But Harbaugh wanted to be aggressive. He chose to make the call, and it worked out. So shout out to John Harbaugh. Got to give him credit. I don't have to agree with the decision, but it was his decision to make. He made it. It worked out. They picked up the 1st down. Next thing you know, Zay Flowers gets open. He streaks for like 22 yards. We get into Chargers territory without using a single one of our timeouts at this point. So we're making good time. We've got all our timeouts. We're in prime position to try to get into field goal range when Lamar decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a shot to Rashad Bateman. Now, Lamar was taking some shots to Bateman early in this game, and they weren't able to connect. There was one pass where he fired it down the field into the end zone, right in the hands of right into the hands of Rashad Bateman. And Rashad Bateman was heavily contested, so he just couldn't hold on to the ball. It would have been a very difficult catch for him to make. He just couldn't hold on to the football. And it was unfortunate in that situation, but Lamar took a chance and showed he was going to throw some deep shots to Rashad Bateman in this game. They couldn't connect there, and Lamar kept searching for it. And he got it just before halftime. He takes a shot down the field. Bateman's one-on-one with the corner. Corner takes a horrible look for the ball. He takes a horrible... He plays the coverage damn near perfect. It's damn near perfect coverage. He's all over Bateman. He's not, tugging him or initiating any contact, so it's not pass interference. He's playing the coverage right. But for some reason, the corner does not look up to kind of locate the ball. He doesn't even know where the ball's coming from. He looks left. He looks right. Bateman is to his left. He looks right, trying to find the football. Bateman, with full concentration, puts his hands out, ball lands right in his arms, holds on to it, touchdown Ravens. They take a 14-10 lead. Looks like they're going to take that lead into halftime. They kick the ball back to the Chargers just before halftime with about 24 seconds left, and the defense allows Herbert and the Chargers to go down the field and score a field goal before halftime. So we headed to halftime with it being 14-13. Baltimore comes out of halftime with the possession because they kicked it off. So they come out with the ball. They go down the field, make some plays here and there, but ultimately they do get stuffed. They have to kick a field goal. The Chargers come back and they respond themselves with a field goal of their own. So now, we go from 17-13. We go from 14-13 coming out of halftime to now 17-13 because the Ravens and the Chargers, they exchange field goals. Time's starting to wind down. The third quarter starting to come to an end, and it's a 1-point game. Baltimore has got to go out there and put up a touchdown. And they do by going 70 yards. And on third down, he finds Mark Andrews in what was a crazy play, but it's the type of play Mark Andrews has made his entire career, so Lamar trusts him. Lamar trusts him in that situation. He trusts him to throw that football. Oh, no, he trusts Mark Andrews to catch that, and Mark Andrews knows if Lamar is going to give him a look, he can't let him down. So Lamar fires a bullet to Mark Andrews for the touchdown. Ravens go up 23-16. They go for two because they wanted to make it a 9-point game. They were trying to get it to be a 2-possession game, but they were not able to connect. Lamar threw the ball. I don't know why he threw a bullet to Zay Flowers. Like, Zay Flowers, the way you throw to Zay Flowers is not the way you could throw. I'm sorry, the way you throw to Mark Andrews is not the way you throw to Zay Flowers. That's two different things. He fired a bullet to Mark Andrews. That's a touchdown. He fired a bullet to Zay Flowers. Incomplete. So that's pretty much how that worked for the most part. So it remained a 7-point game, and the Chargers had an opportunity to try to go down the field, do something with the football, and ultimately, they get cooked. I'm not going to lie. They get cooked. They get cooked on what felt. And honestly, they get stumped. They get stumped. That's what ends up happening. They get stumped. So they punt the football again. Ravens get the ball. They go down the field. And all of a sudden, here comes Justice Hill. Now, Derrick Henry was running the ball very well in this game. In fact, he finished the game with 140 yards rushing. So obviously, Derrick Henry was doing Derrick Henry things. So, that's an aspect that was part of the game. And it has to be mentioned. But the person that ultimately got the touchdown was one Justice Hill, who broke free for like a 51-yard touchdown to put the Ravens up 30-16. And at that point, up 30-16, the Chargers could feel the desperation because they're in the fourth quarter. It's around 7 minutes left to go in the game, and they've got to go and make some sort of play. So 30-16, they get the ball back. They try to move the ball down the field. They try. But all of a sudden, you get in a situation where you get Quentin Nelson. What is his name? Quentin Johnson, not Quentin Nelson. Quentin Johnson. I don't know what you do with this dude, Johnson. Now, he's been having a good year. Quentin Johnson's been having a good year. He's been having a good year. But that does not mean his habits have completely faded away. Old habits die young. He's still dropping passes. And if there was any time you needed Johnson to show up, that was the moment. Man was targeted 4 times, dropped 3 passes. That's the game. And Herbert took a shot down the field on third down, trying to connect with Palmer, I believe. And in a situation where Palmer was matched up against Brandon Stevens. And it ultimately gets ruled incomplete. Now, looking back at that, I personally felt it was pass interference. It looked like Brandon Stevens got contact there, especially before the ball came there. I felt that Brandon Stevens should have been called for pass interference. But the ref said it was an uncatchable ball, which, taking a look at it, I feel like in some cases yes, in some cases no. But they did decide to make the call, and ultimately there was no pass interference. The stop was made, and the Chargers got to kick the ball back. Baltimore gets the football back and just kills as much clock as possible just to put this on ice. But ultimately, they have to punt. They give it back to the Chargers. Chargers go down the field thanks to the Ravens still having their issues with penalties. They could not stop committing penalties, and ultimately they committed 3 penalties that helped the Chargers get down to the goal line, and they scored a touchdown thanks to said penalties. Making it 30-23. They go for the onside kick. Baltimore recovers, and that is your game there. 8-4 for the Ravens now on the season. Chargers fall to 7-4. They should be fine in terms of playoff positions, but losing a game like this definitely hurts them. So, at the end of the day, Ravens get the win. They win 30-23. Lamar Jackson on the night, 16-22, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception, passer rating of 126.5, and a QBR of 86.8. He also had a touchdown run as well, so he finished with 3 total touchdowns. Derrick Henry did not have a touchdown, but like I said, he rushed for 140 yards. And Justice Hill, he rushed for 55 yards, had that touchdown on that 51-yard rushing, and that was pretty much it. So that accumulated to over 200 yards of rushing for the Ravens, 212 to be exact. And Lamar didn't have to do too much in the passing game, and he was effective when he did need to throw the ball. You look at it for the receivers, Zay Flowers, 5 catches, 62 yards. Andrews with a touchdown on 5 catches for 44 yards. Bateman, 2 catches, 43 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, pretty good day all around for the most part, just spreading the wealth to everybody on the team. Meanwhile, for Herbert had a very rough game. The defense actually did a lot of they did a lot of pressure on him and did much better. They did so much better than I expected them to do against Herbert. And Herbert ends up struggling. Part of it because he's not having time to throw, and part of it has to deal with the fact that Johnson dropped like 3 passes. So ultimately, it cost you in those big moments. Justin Herbert finishes the night with 21-36, 218 passing yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating of 75.9, and a QBR of 70. So that's how it goes. J.K. Dobbins, this was supposed to be the revenge game for J.K. Dobbins. He had 6 carries for 40 yards before he ultimately had to leave the game with a knee injury. That's pretty much how that went. So, yeah. It is what it is. Hopefully he's okay. The Chargers didn't seem to be overly worried, so I don't think the injury is severe. They just wanted to be cautious because the knee he hurt obviously was a knee where he tore the ACL back in 2020. So they have to be careful with that. They need J.K. Dobbins for the long run, so they want to make sure he's okay. Gus Edwards got himself a touchdown. 9 carries for 11 yards for him. Honestly, Gus Edwards was pretty much irrelevant the entire game. This probably would have been a lot closer of a game if J.K. Dobbins would have been able to stay in the game. But unfortunately, due to the injuries, which has always been a part of his career, unfortunately, he was forced to come out and could not return to the game. Justin Herbert utilized the wheels a little. 4 carries for him, 29 yards and a touchdown run. That was the only touchdown he was responsible for the most part. But yeah, other than that, there was not much to be said. Their leading receiver was Ladd McConkey because this guy was making a catch on damn near every important down. When they needed to get it done on 3rd down, McConkey was open. When they needed to get it done on 4th down, McConkey was open. Guy balled out, which is great because nobody else was really stepping up for them. Will Disley made some good catches. Joshua Palmer, man, Herbert was targeting Palmer all day. He kept trying to get to Palmer because he was actively trying to get at the rookie Nate Wiggins, and it did not work out for him. But other than that, there was not much to say, man. And yeah, Quentin Johnson just embarrassed himself with no catches. He had 5 targets, in fact, and no catches, 3 drops. I don't know what you do with that. It is what it is at the end of the day. Defensively for the Chargers, they tried to slow down Derrick Henry as much as they could, but they weren't able to do much. And in terms of trying to stop Lamar Jackson, they were doing a good job of it early on to an extent because most of that was due to injuries. But as the game unwound, Lamar got comfortable. And once Lamar threw that touchdown to Bateman, everybody knew that defense was cooked, and they weren't really going to stop the Ravens offense after that, which they didn't. They did not stop the Ravens offense in the second half because they ended up finishing the game with 30 points and doing pretty much whatever they wanted to do. So it is what it is at the end of the day. For the defense for the Ravens, they were missing Roquan Smith, so they had to rely on Malik Harrison to step up and play big. And boy, did the guys step up. 13 total tackles, 7 of them were solo tackles, and he had 1 tackle for loss. I mean, guy was doing his thing. Ravens also managed to get to Herbert 4 times, sacking him. Kyle Van Noy got a sack. Brandon Stevens got a sack. This is actually probably from garbage time where he got that sack. Adafe Owe, I think his was also in garbage time, or basically when the game felt like it was over. But they still were able to get 4 sacks. They're still a top 5 team in sacks this year, so it's funny. And of course, they were able to hold the running game for the Chargers to 83 yards, though, again, J.K. Dobbins being hurt and not playing in the second half does factor in to them only holding them for 83 yards, because at that point, the Chargers were forced to throw the football. And yeah, after that, I mean, other than that, it is what it is. Chargers only got 1 sack on Lamar, so he was relatively clean for much of the game. And yeah, that's pretty much how the game went. Offense started off slow, got themselves together, slowly started building it up, and then took off for the most part towards the end of the second quarter, and it translated to the second half. And then defensively, they did a really good job. I think defensively, they did a really good job. They did a really good job in stopping the run, but most importantly, they did a really good job in frustrating Herbert, because Herbert legitimately felt no comfort in the pocket. He was constantly dealing with pressure, and some of the coverages that they were throwing at him was just getting to him. So he ended up missing a lot of throws. He missed a lot of throws, but his receivers also dropped a lot of passes. So it kind of evens out in terms of who was truly responsible for how the offense ended up, being that anemic for the most part for the Chargers. But it is what it is. They took the loss, and that's pretty much it for them. As for us, we have Philadelphia at the bank next week, so we have to be prepared to go, which is why choosing to not play Roquan Smith was vital. It was vital. It was crucial. If Roquan Smith is able to practice this week, there's a good chance he will play. They had him questionable because they wanted to give him a shot, and they felt at that point he was not good enough to go. So they said, we're going to try again next week when the Eagles come to town. So they're going to need Roquan Smith against Saquon Barkley. They're going to need him. So hopefully he will be fine. But we'll have to wait and see. Other than that, Ravens got the dub. Ravens did what they needed to do. And other than that, not much really to say. Other than a few things, I guess, in terms of praise, shout out to Malik Harrison. Like I said, Roquan Smith goes down. He steps up huge. 13 total tackles for him. 7 of them being solo, and he also had a tackle for loss. Dude was everywhere. He was flying everywhere, making tackles. We were getting on his case. We in the chat were getting on his case. I was getting on his case too early on, especially if you saw the tackle that he just whiffed on J.K. Dobbins early in the game. We all saw that and said, yeah, Malik Harris is going to have a long game, because he was playing awful to start the game. But as the game ramped up, he got better and better. He was more consistent. He was making his tackles and making plays, and even getting behind the line of scrimmage to make a stop for loss. That's when we started looking and saying, hey, Malik Harrison, he ends up having a really good game, and he's ending up becoming the most important aspect of the defense in that game in terms of stopping everything. I think other than Hamilton and, of course, Humphrey, Malik Harrison was probably the biggest impact player on the defense in yesterday's game. So credit to him. Credit to him. But that's good for him. The other person that deserves praise, and you gotta give him credit. You gotta give it to him. You gotta give him credit. Shout out to John Harbaugh. We are always fair with our assessments. We will give criticism where it's due, and we will give praise when it's also due. And this is a time where you have to give praise. John Harbaugh decided to come in with an aggressive nature. This was going to be a lot of aggressive decision making. They were going to be aggressive. If the opportunity was there on 4th down, they were going to go for it. They were not going to be passive. They were not going to be conservative. They were going to be aggressive, and they were going to find a way to get it done, even if they have to go for it on 4th down. Me personally, again, I did not like the decision to go for it on 4th and 1 inside your own territory. I just think that's too much of a risky move, and you're basically guaranteeing points damn near to your opponent. But he took a risk, he felt confident, and they delivered. So I have to give him credit. And if you looked at the game, other than the penalties, which again wasn't his fault, especially because 3 of those penalties, like 3 or 4 of those penalties aren't even penalties. Not even 3. I'll say probably 2 of those penalties aren't penalties, and maybe one's questionable. And then the others, they were just kind of outdoing their own. They were just kind of outdoing their own thing in that last aspect. I can't sit back and say it was lack of discipline. They were out there doing their own thing. I don't know how you consistently get pass interference call after pass interference call after pass interference call. They were doing their own thing. I don't even know what was happening with those guys. So yeah, it is what it is for the most part. But other than that, to be honest, if I had to give a take about John Harbaugh, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it real. I think John Harbaugh had his best coaching performance of the season last night. There was no indecision from him. There was no questionable, other than the 4th down conversion, there was no real questionable decision making from him. He didn't waste the timeout on an idiotic challenge. In fact, he didn't waste our timeout at all. John Harbaugh had his best coaching performance of the season last night. He got out of his own way, didn't try to do too much, kept things simple, and he said we were going to be aggressive, so he was consistent with the aggressiveness. If you're going to do something, you got to be consistent to an extent. He said we're going to be aggressive offensively, let's go be aggressive offensively. And it worked out. So credit to John Harbaugh. He deserves all the praise today. John Harbaugh and Malik Harrison deserve all the praise they get today because we've been on their case all season long, and people have been on John Harbaugh's case for years now. But you know what I mean. So got to give the man his credit because I think that was his best coaching performance of the season. Ironic, it happens against his little brother, who he's already beaten twice and is now 3-0 against. So, yeah, it is what it is for the most part. Like I said, Ravens got the Eagles next week, so they have to be prepared. And Chargers got to get ready for next week as well. So, we'll see. We will see how things go for the Ravens next week. But that's pretty much it for me. Just wanted to give my recap real quick. Could have done a video, but, you know, sometimes I like to live stream just to see some of the chat, see how you guys are feeling about the win and some of the things you guys have to say. But, yeah, it was pretty much a quick chat, pretty much a quick live stream, and not much to really say here because I just wanted to give my piece on the recap. I'll take a look at some of the questions, and then I'm going to head on out of here, guys. We own the Chargers. Well, we're 3-0 against them in the last 3 matchups. Obviously, everyone remembers the Chargers game that we lost in the wild card round. I was there in that game. I was cold, freezing myself off just for the offense to look that bad. We own Jim Harbaugh, too, I guess. That pass to Zay was an errant pass. It was not an accurate pass. Yeah, I'm sorry. I was talking about Bateman, not the pass to Zay. The pass to Zay was just too high. I don't know if it was like it was a corner route or something. It was some sort of out route, and Lamar just overthrew it. There was no way Zay Flower was going to get it. Lamar was inaccurate to start off the game, but then finally got comfortable and started doing his thing, so that's good. Lamar was great as usual. Off to a slow start and he was off to a slow start and he missed a couple throws where he was just overthrowing receivers early on. But he collected himself and started playing well, so that's good to see. Ravens are hard to fully trust with their inconsistency. That's why we sit here and say they're most likely a first-round exit. And if they're not a first-round exit, their inconsistency on a week-to-week basis, the fact that they're this constant high-low team, that's going to get them beat against Kansas City because Kansas City plays the exact same way no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation. So they don't change. The way they play in the first quarter is the way they play in the fourth quarter. When you get a team like Baltimore that's high-low, 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 you can only pray that the day they're at their highest is the day they get to play the Chiefs. But you never know. You never know. Refs versus Ravens every game, it seems. The refs have just been awful in general, so I wouldn't even say refs versus Ravens. They've been terrible in general. So many blatant bad PI calls that night. Last night. It was nasty, but the refs were doing what the refs do. All jokes aside, though, bro, they really need to be able to beat KC in Pittsburgh. They're getting bullied at this point. Yeah, they're going to have a rematch with Pittsburgh in a couple weeks, so we'll see how they do with that. And as for Kansas City, the only chance they have of proving themselves against Kansas City is that they match up with them in the playoffs, which could happen because if the Ravens don't win the division, they're going to Kansas City for the division round if they win the wildcard matchup. If Baltimore wins the AFC North and is a top 3 seed, they'll go to Buffalo for the divisional round, and then if they can beat Buffalo, they go to the AFC title game. Everything is setting up for a nice run here. I would love to say that, but I think I need to see a lot more consistency from a defensive side. Like, these last 2 games have been good, but I need to see more of that before I can even begin to trust this team as a whole. Honestly, though, we still should win the division. Yeah, Pittsburgh's schedule down the stretch is very brutal. We're about to see just how legit the Steelers are. They've got to play Cincinnati twice. They've got to still play Cleveland, which, again, I think they'll win the Cleveland matchup. But they got Cincinnati twice. They've still got us, which, again, they own us. So if you want to say Cleveland and Baltimore, they win, cool. But they got to play Cincinnati twice. They've got to play the Chiefs, and they got to play the Eagles. Good luck with that. Next week will be a hell of a test. Yeah, Philadelphia coming to Baltimore. Got to be ready for that one. Just literally have to beat Pittsburgh in a couple weeks. Yeah, if they can do that, they'll be in a good position. Tre'Davious White, I told people he was a dog. Tre'Davious White's doing a good job for the snaps he's out there playing. Shout out to bro. Why Keaton Mitchell don't get snaps? Right now, they're just looking to have 2 guys involved, Derrick Henry and Justice Hill. And Justice Hill's been playing so well, they're fine with running those 2 guys. But I hope Keaton Mitchell at some point does start to get carries. It's the playoffs that count. Yep. Because that's just how it is. It playoff. I get it with this aspect for Lamar at this point. Any big game he has, any primetime game, it doesn't count if he wins, but it counts if he loses. So, him beating the Chargers on primetime on Monday Night Football against a good Chargers team, it doesn't count. But had the Ravens lost, it counts. We know the double standard y'all throw at Lamar Jackson, whatever. Surprisingly, Harbaugh coached well. Can he please do that for the playoffs? I don't know. Go ask him about that. White, Wiggins, and Humphrey. That's it right there. I've been saying it for a while now. As soon as Tre'Davious White is caught up to where he needs to be defensively, I feel that until Arthur Malik gets back, you play Humphrey in the slot, and then your two outside corners can be Wiggins and Tre'Davious White. When Malik comes back, he's primarily in the slot, so that's where he's going to work. So at that point, you'll have Malik in the slot, and then you'll have Humphrey and Wiggins on the outside, and then you can rotate with Tre'Davious White. And, of course, Brandon Stevens will have to get some snaps there. So your bench guys will be Tre'Davious White and Brandon Stevens. So you can rotate with them because Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey have been killing it this year. Marlon Humphrey's playing like an all-pro, and Nate Wiggins has been fantastic for his rookie year. So he deserves to start on that other side adjacent to where Marlon Humphrey will be. Marlon on one side, Wiggins on the other side, Millette in the slot. That works perfectly. But until Millette gets back, Humphrey can play in the slot because we know he can thrive there. And then I feel like you should have Tre'Davious White on one side and Nate Wiggins on the other side. So we'll see. I have a feeling since he's going to beat the Steelers, I assume they're going to. Their season's on the line. They can't afford to lose to the Steelers. If we could somehow beat Philly, we could be leading the division by next Sunday, setting up the battle for the division on the 21st. Yeah, if we beat the Steelers and they lose to the Bengals, Pittsburgh will drop to 8-4, and then we'll rise to 9-4 heading into the bye week, which means Pittsburgh can still take first place in the division while we're in the bye week if they were to win their following game, which I believe might be Cleveland or something. Or maybe they got Philly afterwards. I have to see the schedule. Ravens, in my opinion, does not utilize all of their talent available effectively. Yeah, they don't. It's a shame. And sometimes when they try to utilize the talent, they don't utilize it to its fullest potential. Thank God Ravens are finally on the better side of history drafting a wide receiver. Yeah, it's been nice to see. Malik Harrison's a beast. He played well last night. Got to give him credit. He played really well last night. White, Wiggins, Humphrey, Washington, and Hamilton. We got ourselves a hell of a secondary unit. Yeah, if there's one thing we have to change though, which would really help things out. Because they keep trying to play like this and it's not working. Please, 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 please. They're night and day when they play one style of defensive coverage versus another style of defensive coverage. If this team can just switch to being more of a man coverage team instead of zone coverage, they'll be fine. Teams keep killing them in zone coverage. They're not good enough to be able to constantly play zone coverage and beat teams like this. They're not. Offenses keep killing them in zone coverage. They've got to stop playing so much zone. They need to play more man-to-man. When they play more man coverage compared to zone coverage, they're a much better football team. The difference between the Ravens playing man coverage versus the Ravens playing zone coverage is night and day. I think they need to play more man coverage. Not saying you abandon playing zone. You have to play zone. You can't just play one style the entire game and assume it's going to work. But I think if they become more of a man coverage team than the zone coverage team, the defense will be right where they need to be. Harrison had a whale of a game. Low-key stepped up, and yeah, he stepped in nice for real. He definitely stepped in and put up a Roquan Smith type of performance. This defense is peaking at the right time. Too early to call. I like what I saw these last two games, but it's too early to say they're peaking at the right time. Philadelphia will be a great test to see that. Malik Harrison started slow, but then he slowed up. Oh, but then he showed up. Definitely shut me up. He shut a lot of us up. We were talking about him in the chat, too. So, shout out to him. Chris Board, too. Yep. Darius and all of them looking good. Yeah. I like Darius Washington's actually been a really good safety this year. He's been one of the best safeties in football. So, that's been good. I still believe Stevens can be a useful piece. Yeah, a useful piece on the bench. Just got to utilize him as the nickel and blitz him. He's a great athlete. Yeah, give him snaps coming off the bench, but he shouldn't be your starter. Ravens pass rushers decided to break out contract years need to be studied. Yeah, a lot of guys have like a lot of sacks, which is crazy to see considering the fact that this defense has been what they've been. Ravens pass rushers. I was like, watch if Ojabo is on the team next year. He breaks out. I don't know if he will be, if he even plays. Wait until we start utilizing Keaton. Who knows when they're gonna do that? Keenan didn't get snaps. Hill and Henry playing too good of football. That's the thing. I don't know if he's going to be able to come in and get snaps. They're going to try to integrate him, though. They actively plan to do so, but I don't know how much he can contribute. If Ravens can contain Saquon and Hurts from getting outside the pocket, we should be fine. The problem is that's not an easy thing to do. And there's a lot of times where we've seen backs break it to the outside against our defense, and we're just a bit too slow. If Saquon breaks it at all, he's taking it to the house. Like, they can't afford for him to break it at all. They don't have the speed to keep up with Saquon. If he sees any crease and breaks it to the outside, they're cooked. You might as well get ready to see Saquon celebrating in the end zone. Hamilton had the green dot. Maybe that is what's slowing Rowe down. I mean, Roquan Smith had the green dot last year, and it didn't slow him down, so I can't really use that. I think Queen leaving hurts Roquan's play. They were a great tandem. Well, that's because Roquan is now doing a lot more than what he's supposed to do. Like, he's been playing a lot of coverage. There's no reason that Roquan Smith is the guy that has to go out there in coverage over Trent Simpson. I don't know what they're doing with Trent Simpson. He was supposed to play the Patrick Queen role. That's why they chose to move off of Patrick Queen. You chose to move off of Patrick Queen because you drafted this guy and Trent Simpson said he's going to play that role. Yet now we're sitting here and he's not really playing that role. Instead, Roquan for much of the season has been playing that role of having to be that blitzer and that rusher to stop the run and try to get to the quarterback and put pressure on him, but also drop back into coverage so much and play pass coverage. Most of that was supposed to be Trent Simpson. And Trent Simpson's been playing well, but he hasn't been utilized nearly as much as he should be being utilized. But it is what it is. Thoughts on Matabike this season? My thoughts on the whole pass rushing unit. Can't even say Matabike. The whole pass rushing unit has just been crazy. They haven't been the best in pressuring the quarterbacks, but man, they rack up a lot of sacks. Matabike has his emergence. He was for the most part silent he started off well early in the season. Then he went silent for like damn near half the season, and then he's reawoken. So many guys are playing well. Matabike's doing his thing. Cavanoy's doing his thing. Dafeo's doing his thing. It's just weird. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Take it one step at a time, brother. Take it one step at a time. This team has a lot of work to do between now and January to get to that potential of being seen as a Super Bowl contending team legitimately. He gets held a lot, and they sell them. They never call holding calls. If you look at every single play, every single snap taken of every single game, there's a hold. They're not going to call all of them. That's just not humanly possible. And if they did do that, we'd never finish the game. Roquan was playing ball against the Steelers before the injury. Seems to be getting rid of trash safeties, improved his play. Yeah, it's funny. You bench the second worst safety in the National Football League and your defense tremendously improves. How about that? Another 9 penalties. That one drive, the Chargers were gifted all PI. Yeah, they still need to clean up the penalties, but I don't know about that. I told people Pittsburgh was going to lose. To weak Pittsburgh. Are you saying that? To lose to Cleveland. Yeah, it wasn't a surprise to see him lose to Cleveland. What's going on, Loyal? It's still fire Harbaugh. I don't care about beating his brother. Beat Reed and Tomlin. See this being a shootout between Philly and Baltimore. It depends on how Philly's front seven responds to Derrick Henry. I think the front sevens of both Philly and Baltimore ultimately determine whether or not there's going to be a shootout. Because Philly has one of the best front sevens in football, or at least one of the more consistent front sevens in football. They got talent left, right, up, and down on that team. And Baltimore has the second best run defense in the National Football League. So both these teams are good at stopping the run. Question is, will they be able to stop the monsters they have to deal with? If both front sevens are stopping Saquon and Derrick Henry, then by all means this becomes a shootout. If not, this could be a whole marathon. Nothing but runs. Nothing but runs. Tre'Davious is going to stay the starter. He wasn't the starter in this game. Brandon Stephens was still the starter. Brandon Stephens has not been taken out of the starting lineup yet. So if Tre'Davious is going to be the starter at some point, they'll have to announce it probably. It wouldn't happen in the game against Philly. It may happen fresh off of a bye week. But we'll see. Nate Wiggins is a dog. He's having a quite good rookie season for a corner. He's been playing well. Hurts loves throwing over the middle. It's going to be a long day. Yeah, can't wait to see A.J. Brown kill us over the middle of the field all day. A.J. Brown killing us over the middle of the field. Devontae Smith killing us over the middle of the field. Saquon taking checkdowns in the middle of the field and taking it for 30-plus yards. All of this is going to happen with this defense, man. Please beat the Eagles. Their fans piss me off. I'm not playing, dude. Why do y'all like tweeting these things, man? I don't play for the team. I can't control whether or not they win. Why do we like typing things like that? It's like, please, like we'll type it to content creators too. It's like, hey man, please beat this team this week. I'm not the coach or the player. I don't play on the team. I don't control. I hope I'm like you. I hope they beat the Eagles. I'll be praying for it. But I'm not going to be out there. It's not like I'm going to have to take on Jalen Hurts, or I'm going to have to try to tackle Saquon. I'm not doing none of that. So hopefully the Ravens beat the Eagles. We'll talk about that a little bit more this week. Probably would have to talk about that. You know what? We have the Thanksgiving game, so I don't think I'm going to make a preview this week. Because it's Thanksgiving, I don't think I'm going to make a preview for the Eagles-Ravens game. Since we're probably going to stream one of the Thanksgiving's game, we could watch the Thanksgiving game and still talk about the Ravens-Eagles matchup. I know that's a bold. I was like, man, Hurts has thrown 13 touchdowns all year. Stop the run, and we have a great chance. I know that's a bold statement considering the play of our secondary, but hey, they can get it done. Yeah, you stop the run, and they feel the need to air it out. Good luck with this defense trying to stop A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. So, I mean, I hope you're watching. The reason Jalen Hurts has 13 touchdowns is because they get to the goal line a lot, and it's either Saquon's running it for huge touchdowns, or they get to the goal line, and Hurts just runs it himself. He has 13 passing touchdowns, but he has 11 rushing touchdowns. If he would just choose not to do the tush push so many damn times, he'd probably have 20-plus touchdowns. Just to be very honest. He probably would have thrown for over 20-plus touchdowns if it wasn't for all those tush pushes. But that's just how Philly plays. They discovered the tush push back, what was it, in 2022 when they discovered this? They've been running it since. It's their signature, and it's what's gotten Jalen Hurts all these rushing touchdowns. And they're going to keep doing it. So I don't think Jalen Hurts is ever going to be a guy that's going to throw for 30-plus touchdowns. It's not going to happen because the way the Eagles play in their offense, it's always set up to where if they get to the goal line, they have the offensive line to just push. If it's at the 2-yard line, they're either going to hand it off to Saquon at this point, or it's just going to be Jalen Hurts taking it himself. So I don't think you're going to see Jalen Hurts throw a lot of touchdowns. I don't think that's how his career is going to be. Because, I mean, I don't – what's the most Jalen Hurts has ever had in a season? Like, 2022 was his best season of his career, and I think he threw for like 22 touchdowns. I think he threw for 22 touchdowns that season. Yeah, I was right. 2022, he threw for 22 touchdowns. That was his best season of his career. Actually, no. Last year, kind of no. There was too many turnovers. Yeah. I think you can argue. Yeah, his best season of his career was 2022. He threw for 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, passer rating of 101, and a QBR of 68. So, yeah, that was probably his best season. This year's also his second best season. He's already has 5 interceptions, so hopefully he doesn't turn the ball over more for his sakes. He has 80 touchdowns to 39 interceptions. That's damn near 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. It's not the worst, but it's also not the cleanest. Also, this year he's completing 69% of his passes, which is a career high for him. So he's playing well. In 2022, he completed 66% of his passes. So this is similar to his 2022 year. I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be the type of guy that's going to throw for 30-plus touchdowns. 23 is the most he's thrown, which was last season. But I don't think he's going to be getting you 30-plus touchdowns because he's going to have so many rushing touchdowns because the tush push is unstoppable. And I don't think he or the Eagles really care. If it gets them to where they want to get to, it's fine. Hurts will probably never have 25-plus passing touchdowns because the tush push is so unstoppable. Yeah, I don't care about passing touchdowns if the guy's going to have 20, but he can also potentially have 15 rushing touchdowns. That's 35 total touchdowns. I'll take it. However you get the touchdowns is however you get it. I'm fine with it. Anybody can be beat. Absolutely. Anybody can be beat any given Sunday. All fair points. I've just never been impressed with Hurts strictly as a passer, as a leader, and a winner. He's outstanding, definitely a winner. As a leader and a winner, he's that team rallies around him. Even if he's not the most talented guy or the best player on the team, they still do rally around Jalen Hurts. But there's been moments with Jalen Hurts as a passer that's been inconsistent. But I also think there's been moments where he's been great. And you saw it. 2022 was his best year. He was very consistent as a passer. He had his moments where he was teetering, but for the most part, they were dominating teams. They got to the Super Bowl, and he had a hell of a performance in the Super Bowl. Yes, he fumbled the ball that resulted in 6 points. We get it. But he still did a great job. Against the Eagles, I want to see a beautiful offensive person need to get to Lamar having 274 touchdowns game or 3, get to Zay. Are you saying like one of the 3 things you need to see here? Get to Zay and likely super involved again and let Henry close on the football. Either way you're expecting, you're hoping there's going to be a good game with us using our skill players. We'll see. We'll see. Jalen at times bails out of clean pockets too. Lamar used to have this issue as well. Sometimes, I mean, it's a thing that's gonna occur when you're always trying to make a play. If you feel the pocket's collapsing, or you feel pressure's coming, or you just want to try to get out of where you're standing in the pocket to try to extend the play and make a play on the move, you're gonna bail out of the pocket. Something Lamar tended to do in the past. Sometimes he still does it now, but a lot of times he's just like legit nowadays. Lamar just does not want to leave the pocket. Even when people are like, "No, dog, just run. Just run." He's like, "Nah, I can find somebody downfield." And it's worked out for much of the season, so I'm not even mad at it. But, hey, sometimes we just want to see Lamar just be Lamar. Like, against Pittsburgh, it's like, dude, just go take off. Sense of urgency is what I care more about. Yep. Lamar has a lot of clean lanes this year, too. Yeah, he's had some moments. He's had some clean lanes when he's been able to step up into the pocket, even when he starts taking, like, rolling a little bit, but he don't take off. Now, many people are just getting on Lamar's case, but I'm gonna be very honest. I think he's just saving it for the playoffs. Dog, did you watch? I don't even want to reiterate this. Let me pull it up here too. Let me pull it up here. I don't need to reiterate it. I will pull it up here. I will pull it up here. I will absolutely pull it up here. I will pull it up here. There it is. Week 1 against Kansas City. Week 1 against Kansas City. Buddy ran for 122 yards on 16 carries. If homie wanted to run, he's gonna run. If he wants to run, he's gonna run. But Lamar is actively choosing not to run right now. He's actively choosing. He's preserving himself. Lamar talked about this in some sort of interview about how he felt in the AFC Championship game. He was dealing with some type of nagging injuries that was affecting him. His legs weren't there, according to him. His legs weren't there, and he wasn't able to run the way he wanted to, so it was very difficult for him. Lamar does not want to head into the playoffs compromised in any fashion. So he's trying to save himself. Doesn't mean he won't take off here and there. He will. Doesn't mean he won't even run the design runs. They'll at least, some days they won't use them, and other days they'll attempt 1 or 2 design runs for Lamar. So he'll still take off here and there. But Lamar is not trying to do that. He's trying to save himself for the playoffs. If Lamar wanted to run, he can run. He ran for 122 yards against the Chiefs defense. And he was taking off. But he was taking off. He was lowering his shoulder. Nah. If Lamar wants to utilize his wheels, he can anytime he wants. But right now, he's trying to preserve himself. We've got 5 games left to finish off the season, see if we can clinch a playoff spot, and then go from there. Hopefully, we can win the division, and then we can go from there. At times, Lamar be tripping with that not running stuff. Dog don't want to run. It's the regular season. He's like, nah, I ain't going to be running like that. Let me save it for the playoffs. Because I know come postseason, if it's not there, I'm taking off and utilizing the wheels. Watch. Come January, watch the difference between Lamar Jackson in the pocket in the regular season versus the postseason. If nothing is there, Lamar's going to take off the way he did in week 1. Just watch it happen. But that's pretty much how it's been. Anyway, guys, short stream here. Just wanted to give some of my thoughts and recap the Ravens-Chargers game. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to check out. I got work tomorrow, so obviously I want to be able to enjoy the rest of my night. And just chill out, relax, not really worry about too much before I got to go to work tomorrow. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. There will be no Ravens Eagles preview because we're most likely going to stream one of the Thanksgiving games. So when we're streaming one of the Thanksgiving games, we can easily just talk about the Ravens-Eagles game there. We won't spend the entire time talking about it because we're watching a game, but we'll speak about some of the things that could happen, matchups and stuff like that. So I'm not doing a specific stream for the Ravens-Eagles preview. I'll just talk about it during the Thanksgiving stream. Also, I announced this again in the live stream yesterday. I won't be here to stream the Ravens-Eagles game. I will be at work, so I won't be able to stream that. But if I'm able to get off, I think I'll be able to get off by like 6:30. If I'm able to get off and rush home, I might be able to catch the fourth quarter. And if I'm home by the time the fourth quarter's here, I'll just turn the stream on and we'll watch the fourth quarter, especially if it's a close game. So we'll just see how it goes. If I miss it, at the end of the day I miss it, I'll just have a live stream to recap the game and get my instant reactions. But I really won't be here to actually stream the game, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm going to miss out on the Ravens-Eagles game. I'm not going to be able to stream that, so it is what it is. I'm giving you the Thanksgiving stream to try to make up for the fact that I won't be here for Ravens-Eagles. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your night. Take care. I'll see you later. Talk to you soon. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.